Hello guys! So, sorry it's been a while since I've done a little talkie video. I've just been so happy to have my guitar back. Anyway, today I wanted to do something that I've been wanting to do a really long time, but I didn't know how to do it. So, if you're familiar with Amazingphil's videos, which I'm sure a lot of you are, who isn't, he's amazing. He did this thing called Why I Was a Weird Kid. And I have really wanted to do this for a long time, but I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm stealing this from Phil. But you know, it's so hard to come up with certain ideas like that, and you don't want to say, well, I'm not going to do that similar thing. So I am going to tell you stories of my odd child behaviors, and but yeah, if you should check out Phil's Why I Was a Weird Kid videos. I phrased that beautifully, didn't I? I guess I will start off with what is possibly my weirdest belief as a child. Now, for as long as I can remember, I have wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be famous, and as a child I was under the delusion that I already was. So things like mirrors or just walking around my house, I thought, at just whenever my brain decided it wanted to be so, that I had my own TV show, and I would directly speak to these cameras. Anyway, it's a very similar idea behind like the Truman effect, if you know anything about that, which is named after the Truman Show, which a friend introduced to me, I don't know how many years ago now, and it's become one of my favorite movies because in the Truman Show he is literally being watched by all these cameras all the time. His whole life is like a facade, and that's kind of how I thought my life was as a kid. Now, there might have been like this really inner deep part of me that knew that that wasn't true, but I lived in such a fantasy world that I wanted it to be so badly that it almost became true in my mind. Anyway, I would sing a lot to these various things, or I would talk to them, and I just believed that all those people that watched my show, when they met me, just pretended that they didn't know I was famous. Now granted, I was like 5 years old when I thought this. But yeah, if you haven't seen The Truman Show, it does star Jim Carrey, and whether you are a Jim Carrey fan or not, it is such a good movie. I can't describe how good it is, I think. I showed it to my parents. I don't know if they were quite as impressed as I am, but I love that film. Check it out. Now, in a similar vein, I constantly sang. I know, it must have been really annoying. I'm kind of glad I didn't know myself as a child. I would put on shows for my family, and then when it wasn't for my family, I would sing to myself. It doesn't sound very weird until you realize that I was a lot of times making up my own words, making up my own melody and tune, and going around the house or in the bus on the ride home to and from school, or walking around the playground singing to myself. Now, I would always be very, very quiet when I was in the bus, so I was basically whispering into the window, singing my song, thinking I was in some weird music video, because I grew up on way too many music videos as a kid. Or, you know, in playgrounds, I don't know how playgrounds are everywhere, but I went to a lot of schools. In most playgrounds, they have either the mulch or the rubber or whatever they have on the inside, and then they have like a beam around it. I would walk that beam because I also did gymnastics and I liked beams. And as I was walking the beam, I would just look down at my feet and sing songs to myself. Is it a wonder that I had very few friends? But yeah, I was convinced that these songs were just the pinnacle of the artist's creation. I had such ideas of grandeur in that I was just the best singer-songwriter there was. Which is odd because most of the words made no sense. Anyway, there was one song in particular that I would sing a lot that consisted of just like a couple words repeated over and over again that I thought was the most genius thing ever written. And later on in my teenage years, those simple phrases became a song of sorts that my teacher and I wrote together, and it became like an actual thing. Like, I could literally sit here and play it. I am not going to, unless you really want me to. Tell me if you want me to. I will, but it mostly consisted of the words he said, she said, you said, I said, and varying degrees of those things. I don't know why, I thought it was genius. I kind of still like it though. Now I just write really sad poetry, and occasionally it makes some sense and somebody likes it. This is an older thing about myself. It wasn't like I was a weird kid. This is just, it was weird that I'd never found this out as a kid. So you know the movie Elf? That fantastic Will Ferrell movie that we watch every Christmas? Or at least I do. Well, there's that cute claymation scene that I love with the penguin, and I think there's a little polar bear or something, and there's a snowman, and there's Buddy is riding on the ice, and there is a narwhal. Anyway, I would have been about 8, 9 years old, and it wasn't until very many years later that I found out that narwhals were in fact actual animals. The reason this concerns me so much is because I was such a science nerd as a kid. I researched tons of animals. I loved learning about rocks, about animals, about space. I loved science, still do by the way. And yet somehow it never came up about narwhals in school. They need to do narwhal education in school. Anyway, I was super pumped when I found out that there were in fact unicorns of the sea. But yeah, that is the weird child that shaped me into the weird adult I am. I see it constantly, but our perceptions are always changing, and we need to keep them changing because we need to understand others and educate each other so there's not some other, 23-year-old out there actually thinking that narwhals don't exist. The lack of narwhal education just gets to me. Anyway, hope you're well, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you are happy dory. Okay, I'm gonna shut up, I've talked way too much. And, God bless you, and peace out.